Hello there, viewers. Judy Shields, Hollywood Times. This is part two of an interview that we've had with Heath Wright, who is the lead singer of Ricochet, which the way to spell it is right above his hat, y'all. If you see it, Ricochet.
Yeah,
I want to make sure we don't spell it wrong.
we were actually the most misspelled band while Shenandoah wasn't touring. I think it's a toss up between us and Shenandoah right now as far as the most misspelled band in country music.
So before we continue, where did that name come from?
Well, that's an interesting story. We had a manager based out of Columbia, Missouri for a while, and he owned a nightclub called the Silver Bullet. So we were looking for a new name because for reasons I won't go into right now, the band Lariat, which is what I had started off in when I first moved to Nashville. That band had to kind of disband and reform and rename itself. So we started looking for a name, and I knew that I wanted it to be one word, something simple. And I wanted it to be 2 or 3 syllables, nothing too long, something that was memorable. And so our manager kept harping on, why don't you just call yourself the Silver Bullet Band? Because he had a nightclub called the Silver Bullet. And I'm like, Steve, first of all, that's too many words. And secondly, Bob Seger already calls his band the Silver Bullet Band. So that's already taken. So that's off the table. All right. So anyway, Steve's wife, Paula, she came up with the idea of Ricochet. And because she said it would look cool on the sign out front if the Silver Bullet presents Ricochet. Get it? Bullet, Ricochet. So that's kind of how we ended up with the name. It was one word, 3 syllables. We didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to spell for everybody. We have had more misspellings. We still get there was a town in West Virginia that misspelled our name so badly on the check that my bank wouldn't run it.
No way.
It was like they threw in a letter that didn't even. It was like they were trying to spell banquet or something. I think they put a Q in there. It was really, really weird. It's just Rico, Rico, Chet, Chet, Ricochet. It's a French word, I guess.
Yeah.
It means bouncing glance.
Yeah, because I don't know honestly if I would have, got it right long ago too, because it's like Ricochet, Rico, the Rico, you kind of, and then Shay, is it Shay, Shay, Cha? So.
You'd be surprised. Some people think, I feel bad for the band Sawyer Brown because we did a show with them just a few weeks ago, and somebody in the lobby went up to one of my guys and say, is that Sawyer Brown's bus? Is he here yet?
Oh.
And one of the guys said, well, first of all, no, that's not Sawyer Brown's bus. That's Ricochet's bus. And secondly, it's not a he, it's a band. So, people come up to me and they're like, are you Rick? Which one's Rick and which one's Shay? It's like, especially since Dan and Shay came out. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I actually want to do a tour with Dan and Shay because I want it to be Dan and Shay and Ricochet, whatever, how cool would that look on a sign?
Oh my God, you need to make that happen. That's a good one.
I want to go out and open for those guys.
Oh, you got to make that happen. We're here to talk today about the Wounded Blue. Let's talk about that and your involvement.
All right. The Wounded Blue is something I just became familiar with recently. It's an organization based out of Las Vegas, headed by a gentleman named Randy Sutton. And Randy and I got pretty well acquainted at an event in Huntsville, Tennessee. Actually, we did a Fox interview first to promote the event. And then we got to meet at this event. Nancy Jones, George Jones's widow, threw a George Jones tribute show. 10 years after his death, George Jones is still filling up arenas. And it was a big concert. A bunch of different country music artists got involved, and it was called Still Playing Possum. So we all got up and did songs from George Jones, and it was a wonderful night. But Nancy had found out about a pair of police officers who had been in a firefight recently, and one of them was killed, and the other one was critically injured and will probably be on dialysis for the rest of his life. And she wanted to do something to help the families of these 2 police officers, to and give us a part of the concert proceeds to these families. And so she actually is the one who contacted the Wounded Blue, contacted Randy and talked to them about donating some of the proceeds of that concert to their organization. And as I said, at that event, I got pretty well acquainted with Randy, and we sat and talked, and I was like, we became pretty good buddies, and we wanted to get involved as well. So what our record label and our management company is doing, we're donating a bunch of CDs to the Wounded Blue organization. And so if you will donate $20 or more to the Wounded Blue, we are going to send you one of our brand new CDs, the new Ricochet Hits and More Then and Now CD.
Adoptacop.com.
Adoptacop.com. There is, I should have known that. I've talked about that on the Fox interview a few months ago during the event. Adoptacop.com. You can go and then you can click on the Ricochet tab. I'm sure there's a image of our new album on there. So be sure and go to adoptacop.com and click on the tab, the Ricochet tab, and donate $20 or more, you get a free Ricochet CD. Now, again, this CD has 16 songs on it. This is the first project we have released in well over a decade. 6 of the hits that we re-recorded and gave a facelift to, and then 10 brand new songs. So it's well worth the $20 donation.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting, and for a good cause. Way to go, Nancy. She's a wonderful woman.
Like I said, the Wounded Blue, they help out families. Their mission is to help families, Leo families, law enforcement officer families, whose main breadwinner, the law enforcement officer, has been injured or killed in the line of duty. So it's a wonderful organization. I strongly support you. Go on to adoptacop.com and check it out and read up about their mission statement and read up about all the good that they've done in communities all over the country.
So you actually guys have produced CDs now. It's not EPs, right? It's a CD?
It is. It's a 16-song CD. I guess you would call it an extended play CD. And like I said, we're going to produce physical product, even in this day and age where all you got to do is hold your phone up and snatch a song right out of the air. We're going to produce some physical product because some people still like that, and not to mention the 250 limited edition vinyl records that are going to be produced.
Vinyl. I've gone through like a couple of them already, so that's going to be so awesome. Is it going to be just a black one? Black, so colored?
I assume so. I know you can do colored CDs these days. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to do anything special like that. I assume it's just a plain black vinyl CD. But so I do. How big is your vinyl collection right now? Do you know?
I have at least, I would say 600 or more.
Oh, wow.
Or even more, because I've been collecting albums since I was a kid. My late father, turned me on to country music. I've always had albums, and so I have all kinds, Chet Atkins, I have all kinds of Christmas, and I have so many. So I'm proud of the collection.
I have a lot of albums as well. My dad was the biggest Hank Williams Sr. fan to breathe fresh air and had all of his records. I just have to find them. I don't have a clue where they're put away in some storage room somewhere, and I got to go through a bunch of boxes and find all of my old vinyl. Right now, the vinyl that I've been collecting the past year, I have probably less than 50 of vinyl that I've just collected in the past year. But I'm really looking forward to the new one coming out. Like I said, first time I'll get to hear my own music on vinyl. It'll be kind of a cool deal for me. Something great about that. Something great about that sound. It's such a warm, inviting sound. And even if it's got a few pops and crackles in it, that just adds to it. But I love, and I have a bunch of Chet Atkins records as well, and some collaborative projects that he did, like with Jerry Reed. Jerry Reed is another one of my favorite guitar players. I always wanted to be, like, when I was a kid, I was a huge Jerry Reed fan, and so I would work up. And again, back then it was record albums, so I would have to try to slow down the album and try to figure out what Reed was playing. But like simple, not simple at all, but like just for some of the simpler things he did. Every guitar player can do Amos Mose, you know. But one semester in college, it took me a whole semester to learn this because I didn't even have a recording to go by. I took the sheet music of The Claw, and I studied it like one measure at a time. And I would work it up until I had it perfect, and then I would add another measure till I had that measure down. So it took me a while, but I learned The Claw one time, which is a Jerry Reed guitar solo. I can't play it now, but you gotta practice that stuff pretty much. I haven't touched this guitar in a week or so, but yeah, Jerry Reed was not just a great guitar player, but he was what we call a great guitar thinker. Great guitar thinker. He could think of those weird chord shapes and those unusual melodies and moving counterpoint type things. Man, I really got to practice. I really need to set up.
Oh my gosh. Do you play any other instruments other than guitar?
I play a little bit of fiddle and some mandolin, and
Oh,
in high school I was a drummer.
oh really? Boy,
You
must have drove
you
your
know,
parents
they
crazy.
didn't have guitar. They didn't have guitar, fiddle, or mandolin in the marching band, so
Oh,
that's what we had. I had to switch over to drums.
well,
And
that's
in our
cool.
show, Judy, in our show, we actually do a little marching drum segment at the end of Daddy's Money. It's unusual. We went out and saw the Blue Man Group one night in Vegas, and we decided that it would be fun to add a marching drum segment to our show.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that?
That's why people have to come see the show. You don't get the full Ricochet experience just by listening to the records. You got to come to a show sometime.
So you guys are out touring now.
We are. We're out to. This is going to be a very busy month for us, August, because the new project's coming out. So when I'm not on the road playing shows, I'm going to be. I've got a trip to New York planned. I've got to fly to Nashville next week for a couple of Sirius XM interviews in studio, and it's a busy time, but I'm the one that asked for it. I wanted this, so I'm anxious to hit it full steam ahead and just enjoy this time, this part of my career and this part of my life. I'm really looking forward to it.
How about come out to the West Coast anytime?
I don't think we have any California days. As far as close as we get to the West Coast is around Phoenix, Arizona.
That's not
Uh,
bad.
yeah, we had a few shows in Arizona and a couple in New Mexico this year already, and
Okay.
I believe they're negotiating for a couple of more out in that part of the country. But hopefully we can get out to our friends in California. I did an interview yesterday with a guy in Bakersfield, and I got
Wow.
to thinking, man, when was the last time we played in Southern California? Like Bakersfield, my favorite place in Bakersfield is the Crystal Palace. Buck
Yes,
Owens is
Buck
Crystal.
Owens.
Yeah, so I love. I mean, I met Buck Owens there one time. The first time we played it, we were the first artist, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, we were the first artist to play that venue other than the grand opening night. So we were the first concert they had other than grand opening. Yeah.
That's some cool history. You guys can also come out to Laughlin. A lot of country artists come out to Laughlin,
Ooh.
Nevada.
We used to play Don Laughlin's
Yes,
Riverside Casino a lot. We played there once a year during the rodeo, during the what do they call
yes.
it, the Riverside Stampede or the
Stampede.
Laughlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we would play that a lot. I got a lot of friends with the Honeycutt Rodeo company that I made during my Laughlin years. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there you go.
I guess the last time I was there was with Restless Heart, and I was out there while they were playing that venue, rehearsing with them. I did some fill-in spots for a couple of guys in Restless Heart several years ago.
Yeah, because that's not too far for us Californians to go, really.
That's
So, so try to
true.
push that one, maybe.
I will. I certainly will.
Close
I got to
enough.
keep that bus on the road. I got to keep the cows fed and keep my guys working.
Yeah. So what else are you working on?
Well, we're already talking about this project, this record label that I'm signed with, Encore Entertainment. We signed a 3-album deal, so we're already kind of putting the planning stages on the 3rd album. The next album will probably be a live project that's already in the can. That I will license to Encore and let them re-release it. Um, it's a similar situation where we released it on a different album years ago, but we never had nationwide or worldwide exposure on it. So we want to do a live album next. But the project that I want to do as the 3rd album is something I'm already thinking about, and I've mentioned it to a couple of people. I'm from Oklahoma, and I'm really proud of that fact. And there's a lot of us out there from Oklahoma. There's Garth and Vince Gill and Reba McEntire and Carrie Underwood, Blake Shelton. The great Joe Diffie was from Oklahoma, and we've just there's so many wonderful country music artists that are Okies, and I want to do an all Oklahoma project. There's a recording studio in Tulsa called the Church Studio, and if you're not familiar with the Church Studio, it used to be owned. Leon Russell owned it, and a great keyboard player. He's
We thank you for taking the time to talk to us, and we look forward to all the new music coming up August 18th.
Thank you, Judy. I had a wonderful time chatting with you, and we look forward to seeing you at a show sometime.
Thank you. We're at the Hollywood Times today, and it was a pleasure.